Indie Film Reviews here. Streebo back with you once again from Mutantville.com. And we're going to continue our discussion of Star Wars. What has gone wrong and what is going right, which is why I'm showing you this as we get started. Because before I get into what I'm going to talk about for the rest of the video, I want to show you something positive. And before half the people watching this misunderstand what I'm trying to say, I want to remind people that this is what it's all about. That little girl right there, that is one of the most beautiful, heartfelt things I've seen come out of the entire Disney Star Wars saga. Now, let's talk about some things that are going wrong. Because there's some things that are missing from Star Wars, which, I talked about why I don't have a whole lot of hope for the future for The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9 coming out. Rather than, my goal is not to convince people not to go see the film. I think I'm trying to talk myself into going to see it. Okay, that's, I'm trying to figure it out. But I've got to talk about what's missing. Okay, now in order to do that, I'm going to show you a few things. I've got so many things to discuss here. Okay, first I'm going to set the stage. Here's an excerpt from Joseph Campbell and the Power of the Myth, The Masks of Eternity. Now that I rolled that up, I'll never find it back on here. I want to do my duty as an ontological shaman to help explain to people what we're experiencing right now. Because with the age of the internet, okay, we've passed 2012 Mayan calendar. We've entered the new ontological era. The new Eschaton has begun. And I'm identifying it as the age of the Trickster. So here I'm gonna quote Campbell here. Well, actually, it's Bill Mars who says it first. There's a wonderful story in some African tradition of the god who's walking down the road, and the god has on a hat that's colored red on one side and blue on the other side. So when the farmers in the field, go into the village in the evening, they said, "Did you see that fellow, that god with the blue hat?" And the others said, "No, he had a red hat on." And they get into a fight. Joseph Campbell. Yes, he even makes it worse by first walking along this direction and then turning around and turning his hat around so that again it'll be red and black or whatever. And then when those two chaps fight and are brought before the king or chief for judgment, this fellow appears and he says, "It's my fault, I did it. Spreading strife is my greatest joy." And I'm not going to blame the strife that we're experiencing right now on anyone in particular. I'm going to explain it as a misunderstanding of the era in which we live. Because with the internet at our fingertips, a steady flow of constant data and information, we are living in the age of the trickster. We're constantly being tricked. Memes are trying to trick us. GIFs are trying to trick us. Deep fake videos are trying to trick us. It's all about the trickster. From there's an attitude that art should no longer be taken serious, but that it's something to be made fun of. Kind of this riff tracks mentality of art. I'm not here to say that that particular hat is red or blue, just that this is what we're experiencing. And this explanation I'm giving to you now is me doing my part. Okay, so let's back up. Let's hurry up and talk about this. What is going on with Star Wars? Well, first, let's talk about what came before we get to this. Before those of you watching this accuse me of being anti-feminist or anti-whatever, I'm not anti-anything. I'm all for everyone. I'm all-inclusive. I'm all for everyone being happy. Everyone doing what they need to do. Whether they be he, she, they, them. I don't care. Live your life, but don't hurt other people. Okay. So Exhibit A Starlog magazine. This is an issue from 1987. I've been carrying it around for a while. Did not buy this off the racks. I got it from a friend of mine who collected for a while and then no longer wanted it. So there's a section in here. Back before the internet, this is what we had to do. We had to seek out things like this. And it says here, what's conspicuously absent, however, is the mystical quality of Star Wars. The Force, the mythical nature of the hero, the quasi-Arthurian mentor-pupil relationship, and are not yet a part of Lucas's universe. General Skywalker does combine the prowess of the warrior and the wisdom of Merlin, but this is probably due in part to Lucas's admiration of the samurai films of Akira Kurosawa and other Japanese filmmakers. Samurai films. The influence. That is what is completely missing from new Star Wars. People have pointed out that they see suggestions of things from Lord of the Rings, Flash Gordon, Dune. They're mainly influences from outside of science fiction, like the samurai tradition of Japan. That's part of the basis for the film's Jedi Warriors. There you go. What more do you need to know? Rian Johnson had no concept of how the samurai warrior works. I'll go so far as to say Kathleen Kennedy has no concept of how the samurai warrior works. Now, I'm not going to attack them personally, and I'd like us to move beyond that part of fandom, okay? But we do have to talk about misreadings and misunderstandings and how that's affecting our art, okay, and where that's taking us to, okay? We have to talk about those things. You know, this is, as beautiful as this is, you have to understand that we had those moments in our youth watching Luke for the first time. I don't want this little girl to grow up and go through what I went through with Luke with Rey, where a new generation comes along and says, well, let's throw Rey on the rocks because that's where we are, because that's dangerous, that's new, that's exciting, that's outside the box. No, let's stick with good storytelling, but let's get back and find the samurai heart. I know Lucas specifically cites Akira Kurosawa and the Seven Samurai in his conversation with Bill Moyers about Star Wars, okay? So if you go and you look at those films, The Empire Strikes Back is considered one of the greatest samurai films by people who don't like science fiction, because it has that samurai story, the training, the tradition, the blending of mind, body, and spirit, okay? All those things. I'm just rolling all over the place. It's hard to film and talk and do all this at the same time. If you go and you look at Star Wars, the original, with Luke, and you know anything about Akira Kurosawa, you know that the basic story is the Hidden Fortress, okay? Now, what am I saying? Am I saying they need to go copy samurai films? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they need to understand that the samurai aesthetic is missing, that's part of the problem with these films. Kennedy reveals executive team more than 50% female. How many of them have training, combat experience? When you have a balance of men and women, there are all sorts of things that enter into the discussion. Yep, a whole lot of things that have nothing to do with samurai tradition. I'm not saying that it's necessarily bad because it has so many females in it, but I'm saying this is where part of our misreading is coming from. Right there. You're seeing it. Wonder Woman, in part, the film was so awesome because the lead actress was a military vet. She had time in the military. What's her name? Gail, whatever. But anyway, I love that film. And the way she carries herself is as a warrior. Okay? And that seems to be what's missing from these films. Sorely, sorely missing. How do we put the samurai tradition back into these films? Well, I think the answer is that we don't. We don't. If you watch any of them, you can tell it's not there. You know, we were essentially lied to in the trailers, told that Finn was going to be a Jedi. They threw all that, in the trash. You know, why couldn't he be a non-force wielding Jedi? How awesome would that have been? Why couldn't he have gone and trained with Luke alongside Rey? I don't know. I'm just one man sharing my views here at Indie Film Reviews. If you like anything I'm saying, you want to support independent artists out there, go buy a copy of Tales from Mutantville from Amazon today. You can even leave a review. Tell me how much you hate it or how much you like it if you're one of those people. Because I need to make some money so that I can make some more films. You know, I had a lifelong goal of directing episode 7, and I failed miserably. And I'm sorry, I failed you people. I failed you all. But at least there is some hope for the future right there. Let's not fail this little girl. Let's help put that tradition back into Star Wars for the new generation. Let's not fail her. Let's not wait for her to get older and excited and want to share this journey with her family, with her friends, only to have it all smashed upon the rocks and then told that she doesn't understand it if she doesn't like it. Indie Film Reviews. I'm Streebo. Follow me on Twitter if you want to, at JTMCROBERTS. See you next time.